I spent the past week theory crafting, experimenting, and running every single piece of content to make sure that this build can handle everything. And it definitely can. All of that experimentation and theory crafting has been happening over on twitch.tv/Scorpius_ENT if you want to join us live. Here's some gameplay so you can see how my Unarmed Monk build plays, and then we will jump into my setup and what you need for this build to work. Okay, so how you doing, guys? What we're going to do before we see everything is just a disclaimer. The previous video that we have on this build actually talks about the early endgame and the mid endgame. So if you're still at that point and you don't have a lot of currency, I would suggest you follow that. How do you get your charges? How does Unarmed scale? All of that stuff, you can find it in that video. And the last thing I wanted to say is that for this specific build, this is the first build that I'm going to provide you guys with two different guides. One, max roll, two, mobilytics. And what I need from you guys is to let me know in the comment section down below if you guys prefer max roll or you prefer mobilytics. First things first, I want to show you what we're doing. We have 164,000 DPS in the hideout, and we're peaking over 450k in combat, which is massive damage. Then for my defenses, you can see these are my attributes: 62 strength, 161 dexterity, 116 intelligence. We've got 224 spirit. The way that I get this is with two things. Number one, the campaign gives you 100 spirit, and then the other 124 come from the Acendancy node called Lead Me Through Grace, which gives you spirit based on the evasion and energy shield on your chest piece. Another thing that's really important for you guys to know is that I've got over 4,000 energy shield. My life is at 1,500 as well, and I've got 66% evasion, which is 19,000 evasion rating, which is pretty high. Everything is capped when it comes down to the three elements, and 65% on chaos resistance, as well as 57% on deflection, and this is gonna go a little bit higher. I think I reached 60% in combat as well. All of these numbers are going to be justified with the gear and the passive nodes we're going to see in a second, but I just wanted you to see my defense and what I'm working with. So let's begin with our abilities, and I'm going to start with the basic ones before we see anything else. We're going for Ice Strike. I'm going to open it here so you can see we've got 164,000 damage in the hideout, and as you can see, we're doing really good. We've got 7 attacks per second with 0.14 seconds of attack time. That's pretty speedy, and that's because of a lot of attack speed that we're getting from the tree, our gear, and also our evasion scaling for an unarmed, which is really, really broken at this point, especially if you get mid to the late endgame. The support gems that you want here are things like Close Combat, rank 2 for 30% more attack damage, Elemental Armament for 25% more elemental attack damage, Rage, rank 3, because this is constantly going to give us rage, and this is going to benefit us with a new support gem that we added on Tempest Bell. Then the fourth one is going to be Concentrated Area for 30% more area damage, and the last one that I went for is Overextend. There is absolutely nothing wrong if you want to try Crescendo rank 2, if you want to try Crescendo rank 3, if you want to try Rapid Attacks rank 2. All of that is really good. I tried them and they're working perfectly. The update that I'm going to do here is going for Rakiatis Flow whenever I have the extra divine to give for it, but it's pretty expensive, and I prefer using my divines right now to min-max my gear a little bit more. This is going to do just fine. Next, we've got Shattering Palm, and Shattering Palm is actually pretty interesting to talk about because there is a really good alternative if you want to go for, but Shattering Palm is really good. This is going to help us with the dashing. It's more of a utility ability rather than damaging ability, and the support gems you're going to go here is for free, so you can have more freeze build up, because this is how you actually build up your charges. Ice Bite for some extra cold damage, Close Combat for the 30% more attack damage, and lastly, we've got Ridgewald's Ferocity. This is a new lineage support gem, just like the Rakiatis Flow. It's definitely not mandatory. You can use other support gems here, such as Rapid Attacks rank 2, or even Momentum is going to be really good, but I'm using Ridgewald's Ferocity because it makes perfect sense for my build. The reason why is because we're using weapon set 1 and 2 on our passive tree. We're going to see it in a a second. Weapon set 1 is for mapping, 2 is for bossing, and this way we can optimize those 24 points for each set of the content that we do to maximize our damage and survivability if needed. So what Ritual is going to do is going to give 20% more attack speed on Shattering Palm whenever I'm mapping, but 15% less damage. I don't care about the damage of Shattering Palm, I just need it as a utility. The attack speed here is going to help me dash a lot quicker, finish my maps quicker as well. And then for bossing, it gives me 30% more damage, which is what I need it for, instead of the attack speed. Really good stuff. Now, why this is important to talk about is because if you're struggling defensively and you're going in their faces as melee and you're dying often because of abyssals or your defenses are low, whatever the case is, you can easily swap Shattering Palm for Stormwave. You don't need to change anything on the passives. You don't need to change your gear. You simply change Shattering Palm and you put Stormwave in. Stormwave is a really, really good ability that's going to help you clear everything. The reason why I'm going for Shattering Palm is because I wanted my build to be 100% melee. But Stormwave is really good. And the support gems that you want to go for Stormwave are things like Rapid Attacks, rank 2 for the speed. We have Branching Fissures. Then we have Elemental Armament, rank 2 for the damage. Rage, rank 3 once again, so you can be able to build up the Rage with Stormwave. And lastly, Concentrated Area for 30% more area damage. Moving on, we've got Charge Staff. Charge Staff is going to be active with your charges, and it's a really good ability. We need it so we can deal more damage, and it's going to help us with a lightning damage because you're going to see in a second we're using Trinity. So Trinity is really important to build up, and Charge Staff is going to help us with that. The support gems here are going to be Close Combat rank 2, Elemental Armament rank 2, Concentrated Area, 30% more area damage, Prolonged Duration, 35% more skill effect duration, and lastly, I settled for Perpetual Charge. You can go with Living Lightning, rank 2, which is a really good support gem, but I'm using it for something else. Next, we've got Tempest Bell, our main boss killing ability, Overabundance, rank 2, so you can be able to maximize the limit on the bells, Close Combat, once again, Elemental Armament, Concentrated Area, and the new one that I added here is Rage Forged, rank 2. This is gonna give us insane amount of damage, but it's based on the rage that we actually build up from Ice Strike with the Rage rank 3, if you remember, or our Stormwave. Now, the alternatives that you can go for that are equally as good is taking away Rage Forged, rank 2, and Elemental Armament, rank 2, and going for things like Heft and Heavy Swing. You can take both of these out and add those two, or take one of them and add one of those two. Then moving forward is Combat Frenzy with nothing more than Charge Profusion. Next, we're going for our Heralds and our Auras, and we've got a lot of them. As you can see, there are 4 of them. We've got Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder. The combination that we're going to do here, a lot of people are asking me, and I want to make sure that it's very clear. No, the tech that we used to have in 0.1 does not work. They changed that, and that's not what we're doing here. I'm going to explain. They cannot trigger each other anymore. That was fixed in 0.1. But the reason I'm explaining this is because on Herald of Ice, I am now using Overreach, I'm using Shock, Shock Conduction, Lightning Attunement, and Pinpoint Critical. The reason why I'm doing Lightning Attunement is because I need my Herald of Ice's cold damage to get reduced and deal more lightning damage, because that way I'm going to be able to equalize all of the elements that I'm dealing, so I can be able to build up more resonance on my Trinity. The more resonance we get on our Trinity, the more bonuses we get from that aura. So since this build is naturally leaning more towards the cold damage, I want to make sure that the cold abilities such as Herald of Ice are dealing more of any other element. That's why I have Lightning Attunement here. Pinpoint Critical is there because 60% more critical hit chance is going to really help us hit that 100% mark with Herald of Ice, which is going to provide us with the 100% critical hit chance, so we can actually do the tech that we have here with Sunder My Enemies, which is going to be ignoring non-negative enemy monster elemental resistances. Then we have Herald of Thunder, which is practically going to do something very similar. Cold Attunement, so we can actually lower its lightning and increase its cold damage. We have Living Lightning, rank 2. Then Freeze, so it can help us with the build up even more. Magnified Area, increased area of effect, and Lightning Mastery as well. So with this combo now, we're actually balancing lightning and cold. Fire, we're going to talk about fire in just a second. Wind Dancer is another very, very important aura that we have here, and the support gems that we're going to go for are things like Blind, rank 2, Maim, Magnified area for the effect, rank 1, by the way, not rank 2, because rank 2 is going to lower your damage. Anything that has magnified area, make sure that it's 1, not 2. And then Rising Tempest, because it deals 12% more elemental damage for each skill used recently of a different elemental type. How does it deal damage? Is whenever somebody hits you, it knocks them back and it deals damage. Trinity here that reserves 100 spirit, and the support gem that we have here is Fire Mastery, which is going to help a little bit with our fire buildup, but this is not the main reason we actually build up fire. We're going to tackle that in just a second, but Trinity is really good because the more resonance you have, the more damage it's going to provide you. And if I just pin it here, because I'm pretty sure I'm hiding some information, you can see the entire thing. And if you quality this to 20%, you're going to get 15% increased skill speed if at least your resonance is going over 250. So you don't need to be maxing out your fire damage. As long as it's over 50 resonance on the fire and you're constantly 100% on lightning and cold, you're going to be able to get 15% extra skill speed. Now, one thing that needs to be mentioned on our default auras is that if you have a ton of evasion, you can skip Wind Dancer, but you're gonna definitely need to go for Bestial Skin. As you can see, I do not currently have Bestial Skin because I believe with my evasion and Wind Dancer is gonna be an overkill. But what I could do, I do have the option, and you can consider that as well, is if you have a lot of evasion and you have a lot of energy shield, like 4k or even more than that, you can actually go for Bestial Skin and drop Wind Dancer so you can go ahead and get yourself Ghost Dance instead. Due to the fact that we have a lot of energy shield, Ghost Dance is a perfect ability that's going to help you with the recharge based on your evasion. So we have a lot of evasion, we have a lot of energy shield, Ghost Dance is perfect here. The support gem would be Compressed Duration rank 2. Now, the second way that you can do this and add Ghost Dance with Wind Dancer is getting a really good unset ring, but that's gonna cost you more divines to get a good perfect ring, which is also unset. Next, we need to talk about Elemental Expression. This ability is really good for mapping. It provides you with icy waves, fiery explosions, a lot of bolts. It deals a lot of AoE damage, which is prime for mapping. You get this from the Scatter Them to the Winds Ascendancy node as an invoker, and it's really good for mapping. The support gems we want here are things like Blind rank 2. Retreat rank 3 gives you 30% more projectile damage if you have damaged an enemy with a melee hit in the last 2 seconds. Then we have the support gem called Mana Flare, which on critical hit is going to trigger this ability, and what it does, it simply takes some chunk of your mana so it can deal fire damage, which is going to help you build up your Trinity even faster. Then we have Pinpoint Critical because we need all of those critical hits when mapping, and lastly we need the Freeze build up even more for our charges. For bossing, when I say bossing, I'm talking about pinnacle bosses. You're going to simply respec out of Elemental Expression and you go for Unbound Avatar. This is going to help you increase your damage significantly on pinnacle bosses such as Zesht and Arbiter or King of the Mist, for example. The support gems you want to add here are things like Prolonged Duration, so you can have it run for longer, and you want cooldown recovery, so you can increase the cooldown recovery rate. Now, the last one that you see here active is Crackling Palm. The way that you get Crackling Palm is with the new uniques called Thunderfist, which are a little bit pricey right now. Last time I checked, it was around 5 divine, but by the time you see it, it might go a little bit higher. It deals an insane amount of lightning damage, and it's simply really good. But also we found a way to utilize it further with Fire Attunement, which is going to add 25% more damage as fire and reduce the cold and lightning, which is further going to enhance our fire damage for our Trinity. The second support gem you want here is Calling Strike rank 2, then Lightning Mastery, and lastly, once again, Pinpoint Critical. Moving on to the gear. Let's look at my gear. So as we said, we spoke about Thunderfist, but here's my opinion about these gloves. I've tried them on, and I also tried a really good piece of rare gloves with like melee skills, 2 or 3 flat damagers, attack speed, stuff like that. And what I believe is that I think Thunderfist are 100% worth it if you do have the extra divine. Think about it logically. It gives you the critical hit chance that you might have or might not have on your actual rare gloves, and it's really good. It gives you the lightning damage flat that you also need, and it gives you attack speed as well as evasion and energy shield. What makes them really good, in my personal opinion, is giving you that extra ability for mapping, Crackling Palm, and let's be real, 80 or 90% of what we do in the game is mapping, so having an extra ability that helps with mapping is so much better than not having it. When I think is the best time to swap away from Thunderfist, I would say whenever the rest of your gear is far better than Thunderfist, then you should consider investing something like 18 or 20 divine in a really, really good piece of gloves with mods such as +2 melee skills, triple flat damage, attack speed, maybe 2 sockets so you can add in the increased attack speed talisman of Sirius on them. Yeah, those gloves are going to definitely beat the Thunderfist and maybe even not having Crackling Palm. But whenever you do that, you also need to consider that you're going to lose the support gems from Crackling Palm, so you need to find a way to add Fire Attunement somewhere else, which maybe Charge Staff would be a good example. If you don't have the Divine, don't worry about it. Just go for rare gloves of whatever you can afford. But try and save up so you can get the Thunderfist, hoping that they're going to drop in price. Let's talk about the helmet next. Personally, I prefer going for full-on energy shield on my helmet because I do believe that energy shield is very crucial to our build. I've got 22% increased critical hit from the Desecration, 38% cold resistance, some chaos resistance on this as well, and a lot of energy shield. The body armor, in my opinion, should always be hybrid. You get the best of both worlds. I did invest quite a bit on this one because I wanted to try the 19% of evasion rating, and for now it's working really, really good. If you guys want to go for the deflection, there are 2 items that you should focus on, the chest piece and the boots. But yeah, other than that, we're just simply covering our resistances with both of these items and a little bit of chaos resistance on our boots. The belt is simply there to cover up our resistances. That's it. Then the 3 most important things to consider are going to be things like the amulet, which amulet needs to have levels of all melee skills depending on your budget. If you do have the divines, invest on having +3. If you don't have them, try and get +1 or 2. I think the 2 is going to be pretty cheap. What else we're looking for here is maximizing our defenses as much as we can. So just an example, if you have 1,000 energy shield, the 52% is simply going to give you an additional 520 energy shield. Really broken stuff. For the allocation of anointment and instilling on the amulet, personally I went for Storm Charge because I was greedy for damage. It's pretty pricey. It gives you 40% increased elemental damage if you've dealt a critical hit recently, which is why I'm also focusing on the pinpoint criticals and all that stuff happening in the support gems. Everything now makes sense. 20% increased critical hit chance as well. Another option that you can go for is going to be Overwhelming Strike, and then a cheaper alternative could be something like Critical Exploit. Now if you're having issues defensively, then you can do things like Patient Barrier, for example. Next, we've got the rings. They don't need to be breach rings if you cannot afford them, but the things that we're going for here is definitely flat damagers as much as you can. If you can get like increased cold damage, fire damage, lightning damage, that could also work. You want to cap your resistances a little bit here, and you definitely need mana leeching on at least one of the 2 rings. Next, let's talk about the Ascendancy and the passive tree. The Ascendancy, nothing really changed here. We're simply going for the Blizzard for the cold damage. Next, we're going for Lead Me Through Grace for the Spirit. Then we have Sunder My Enemies to ignore the elemental resistances with our critical hits, which is why we're focusing on critical hits in the first place. And then we have Scatter Them to the Winds for our mapping, so we can get elemental expression. And whenever you're about to do Zesht, Arbiter, King of the Mist, any of the big pinnacle solo bosses for single target, you definitely want to take away Scatter Them to the Winds and go for something like Unbound Avatar. Now, the passive tree is where things become interesting, but to get straight into it, I'm not going to explain every single node because the video is going to take forever. If you prefer longer videos and more explanations, let me know in the comment section down below. But just to TLDR kind of in a nutshell what we're getting a lot of attack damage here, and the 5% days on hit is really important. Save that, and we're going to talk about it in a second. We're getting movement speed stuff like Step Like Mist with mana regen that's going to help us. Even more attack damage, even more attack speed, a lot of critical hit chance, critical damage bonus nodes right here. here, and also all of this cluster and all the way up here as well. We're trying to get as many jewels as we can possibly get to, and we're gonna look at the jewels in a sec. But other than that, we're building to defense with things like Immaterial, things like Mindful Awareness, Subterfuge Mask, of course, and Spectral Ward. But also we're getting utility stuff such as Walker of the Wilds, which literally this node is what's gonna help you with your mana sustainability, but you still need to make sure that you have mana leeching on your ring or your rare pieces of gloves that I said before. But here's where things become interesting. Remember I told you about the 5% days and why that's important apart from the attack damage? Is because this cluster right here could be really good. I currently have a time lost, which benefits, and we're gonna see the time lost in a second in the part of the jewels. I'm gonna have stamps, so I don't wanna mix and match them now. So if I take away the time lost, you're gonna see what these do. 10% chance to daze on hit, 40% increased critical hit chance against dazed enemies, and with this one, you get 40% increased damage against dazed enemies. And if you add a good time lost, then you benefit from all of these nodes right here, which makes it even better. Now, if you don't have a time lost, or if I didn't have a time lost, what I would do is I would simply take away these two nodes because I have enough critical hit chance. I don't actually need these so much, and I'm going to gain 2 more passive points. But because I have a really good jewel that we're going to see in a second in more detail, it actually gives even more value to all of these nodes. And lastly, what I want to talk about here is you will notice that there's multiple different colors. That's because I'm using weapon set 1 and a weapon set 2. Weapon set 1 is for mapping. What I focus on weapon set 1 with those 24 or 15 points, whatever you want to use, is for defense. I want to increase my evasion. I want to increase my energy shield so I can be able to sustain the damage of those big, dense, abyssal maps. So things like Subterfuge Mask, things like Immaterial are going to be on weapon set 1. You can also use points on things like Train Deflection for weapon set 1. Or go for these 2 nodes as well, so you can increase your evasion by another 24% and your energy shield by another 24%. Whereas weapon set 2 is for boss fights. And what we care about there is not energy shield and evasion, but actual damage. So you're going to see the green nodes right here are for bosses. We're getting things like Distracted Target, which is why we have Blind as support gems on our skills. Or things like the Harness of the Elements right here that gives you 20% increased damage for each type of elemental ailment on enemy. The whole point of all of this, so we don't overcomplicate it, is that weapon set 1 is for mapping, and whenever you're toggled into weapon set 1, you have more defense, more energy shield, more evasion, and weapon set 2 is for bosses, and whenever you switch to that, you have less defense, but definitely more damage for single target. And the way that you could do that, since we're talking about this topic, and I had a lot of people ask me on the stream, is you can either use the weapon set swap keybind, either on console or PC. For PC, for me, it's F. I know a lot of people have it on X on default, I believe, but as you can see, it switches between the two right here. There's no other indication because we don't have the weapons to swap over, so you can indicate whether you're on weapon set 1 or 2. The only way that you can know, and I'm going to remove my face out of the way so you can see, is through the life and the shield. So if I keep switching, you're going to see that my energy shield goes up and down. So if I see a number over 4K, I know that I'm in my mapping setup. If I see something below that, I know that I'm about to do the boss. So make sure, please, because I've died so many times to this, make sure that after you're done with the pinnacle boss and you're about to map, you always check your energy shield and you know that you are 100% on the correct weapon set. So yeah, please make sure that you're not going to forget to swap over. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention about the passive tree is about Chaos Inoculation. And a lot of people are asking me, why didn't you go for Chaos Inoculation if you're going to build up 65% Chaos? And this is why. If I get Chaos Inoculation, that means that my life does not matter. All that matters is Energy Shield, which means that I need to focus only on that. Now, the problem with that is that Eternal Youth has been obliterated to the ground. It's been nerfed, and it no longer recharges your energy shield, which means that we now don't have any control over our energy shield with our health potion, which then means that you need to start investing in different kind of nodes on your tree, such as Convalescence, so you can be able to have a faster start of energy shield recharge, or you're going to need to start getting some energy shield recharge rate on your gear, which also means that you might need to take away Wind Dancer so you can put Ghost Dance, but also you might need the ability called Convalescence so you can be able to recharge. So you see where I'm going with this? the build is slowly changing to a completely different thing. You're now focusing on energy shield, and that's one of the reasons I'm not going for Chaos Inoculation. We have a full balance of everything. We're pretty tanky and we're dealing a lot of damage. Chaos Inoculation, in my opinion, is definitely not worth that one node. And now lastly, for the passive tree, before we look at the jewels, finally, I have 2 spare points that I want to show you because a lot of people might be higher level than me, and I just wanted to show you where you can go about things, depending on whether you're defensively okay or not. If you're not okay defensively, you can go for weapon set 1 for train deflection. But what I'm thinking of doing is going actually for Catalysis here, which gives me 20% increased elemental damage with attacks, 5% physical damage from hits taken as damage of a random element. Other things that 100% work because I've tried them out, instead of Catalysis, you can go for the node Essence of the Mountain. That works like a charm. You can go for Essence of the Storm if you want to, or both. You can go for Life from Death on your weapon set 1 in case you need more defense, as I mentioned before, apart from the deflection ones here, the train deflection. Or you can pick and choose one of the clusters for the power charges, either the overflowing power to give you critical damage bonus, or the extra defense one that we have here. I'm pretty sure that one of them has this one right here, Lust for Power, has the energy shield one, so you can go for that one as well. Now, jewels. The first one that I have here is maximum energy shield, critical hit chance, and elemental damage are the 3 important ones that I wanted, and I just had the 1% maximum life on kill. I didn't intentionally put it there, but that's one decent jewel that I have. Definitely something that I can actually switch in the near future whenever I get some more currency. A good one that I have also is Heart of the Well, 6% increased skill speed that helps out, 14% of damage as extra fire damage, which helps my Trinity, 7% critical hit chance, and 1% maximum lightning resistance. This is not the best. It really helps with the extra fire. In the future, what I would like to do is have 2 of those increases of damage, 1 for fire, 1 for cold, and some critical hit, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be quite costly. Another jewel that I have that I spoke about before is the Time Lost. Here I have cold damage, critical damage bonus, skill effect duration, and global defenses, which makes sense why I'm going for all of these nodes as well. And lastly, I went all the way down here with another really good jewel, which is a simple emerald that gives me evasion rating, critical damage bonus for attack damage, increased attack damage, and critical hit chance for attacks. But yeah, that should cover absolutely everything for this build. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, please make sure that you comment down below with your questions, and I'm going to make sure that I answered them. Or you can join us over on twitch.tv/Scorpius_ENT, ask your question, or just hang out with us. Also, please let me know if you guys prefer max roll or mobilytics so I know for the future. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video didn't go too long, but as always, I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Peace.